Liz, great to see you. Welcome to Docday.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful to hear from all the speakers.
Yes. Liz, T1 International is probably most known for its Insulin for All campaign. It's based on a hashtag that was launched a couple of years ago by the IDF. I think the claim was put the world back in World Diabetes Day. And this is what we're discussing with the IDF today and in general, put the world back into World Diabetes Day. T1 International is also really active in the US. There you have a slightly different approach. You specifically target the issue of insulin pricing, a huge issue specifically in the United States. And we will kick this off by launching or showing a video that you recently launched that is addressing this issue. Let's show that. Liz, wonderful video, very powerful message in the end, very controversial message as well. But this is exactly what we're here for. We said it very clearly, we can't celebrate without also advocating for access to insulin. Insulin pricing, specifically in the US, is a huge issue. It is an issue worldwide. We heard about this. Access to care is an issue. This is why you work with a network of advocates across the world. Can you tell us more about your global advocacy network?
Of course, yes, thank you. And just to also mention that video is available in French, Spanish, and Arabic on T1 International's YouTube. T1 International is an advocacy organization as is clear from the video, and I think really the video speaks for itself in terms of the global situation. It's a snippet, of course, but as we've heard from different speakers today, the reality is so many people should be alive and living a full life with diabetes, and they simply aren't. So what T1 International does really, I'm a patient. I've been living with type 1 diabetes since I was 4 years old. And although I grew up in the States and had access to the things that I needed, I did struggle with the cost and the affordability. And I moved to the United Kingdom, 10 years ago now, and experienced the national healthcare system here, and was really shocked to see that and to experience a system where health is viewed as a human right. And so what we do as an organization is really try to work with patients all around the world for us to come together and stand up for our health rights, and to really look for tangible plans to make sustainable change. Donations of insulin and supplies are life-saving and needed to keep people with diabetes alive. But as we know, living with type 1 diabetes especially is a 24/7 condition, and without insulin for the rest of your life, you won't be able to live. And that's just the reality. So at T1 International, we want to find long-term sustainable solutions that mean no one has to rely on donations. And we work with advocates who you're going to hear from a few in just a few minutes, because I fully believe that they can share and talk about their advocacy way better than I can. But we help them create tangible plans to make change in their local community, whether that is about insulin affordability or test strips, or just helping people understand and be aware of the condition. And we also bring this global community together. So while we're kind of fighting our local fights, we also are really emulating in some ways the HIV and AIDS movement that managed to lower the cost of antiretroviral drugs. And we want to do the same for insulin. We know that people living with diabetes have the most power and the most ability to make change. And so coming together as a global community, and we've done that through the Insulin for All campaign that you mentioned, Bastian, and we're going to continue bringing folks together and raising our voices until things change, because it's outrageous that 100 years after insulin was discovered, that so many people are struggling and dying without it. So that's just a little snippet about what we do, but you can learn more at our website. And I just really appreciate the ability for us to be here and show our video and share the voices of our advocates.
And before we do that, Liz, let me just ask you, you rally around that hashtag mostly, Insulin for All, but you also run summits. You've developed a toolkit. How do you reach out? Where are all your advocates? How do you find them? How do they find you? How do you work together?
That's a great question. Thank you. So while the Insulin for All hashtag is significant and is one way that folks find us, you're absolutely right that you have to have internet to access the Insulin for All hashtag. And so we work with advocates on the ground. We share out hard copies of our toolkit and provide, when possible, COVID pending, trainings, and really try to connect with folks in whatever way we can. We have folks kind of going out to reach networks that can't be activated online. And again, finding the ways that we can to make things as accessible for the community as possible. And we understand that you have to have some degree of privilege to actually be able to advocate, because if you're battling to get your basic needs met, it's difficult to have a lot of time and space to advocate. So we really do try to focus on that community, and that every little thing that anyone can do will make a difference. So we do various forms of outreach, and we hold both virtual and in-person workshops regularly throughout the year. Again, yes, both with our US network, but we have programs around the world. One of our flagship programs is called the Pamoja program, with advocates from 6 African countries. And we've done several in-person leadership building trainings with them. And actually one of those advocates, Tapi, is on the call today. So you'll be hearing from her later.
Exactly. There is actually quite a bit of overlap between advocates involved with your T1 International and with the Insulin for All campaign, and in the dedoc Voices program, Tapi being one of them, Tino from Zimbabwe being another one, and many, many more. And I love that this is all coming together, rallying around the same cause. You mentioned it yourself, you have great advocates all over, and you wanted to bring them here. That was a bit last minute, but you brought a video where they speak for themselves. So let's show some of the T1 International advocates from around the world in a short video showing now.
Prioritization of people with diabetes would mean acknowledging diabetes as a life-threatening condition, considering subsidizing diabetes medication as it is with the AIDS levy. Thus, ensuring affordability and access, workshops to equip our healthcare professionals with up-to-date information on the management of diabetes. Above all, empowering the diabetic patient to manage their own condition.
Being able to have access to healthcare professionals with knowledge in diabetes could significantly impact the outcomes in my country, taking into account people living with diabetes require multidisciplinary care to be able to have physical, emotional, mental, and nutritional health. People living with diabetes at some point or various in their lives may present distress, burnout, depression, amongst other conditions that could impact their daily management. Being able to have access to healthcare professionals with knowledge in their condition could help them not only have a better relationship with their condition, but also their bodies, their mental health, and their treatment, allowing them to feel safe within their own bodies.
Prioritization of people with diabetes would be like giving enough confidence to people that they can openly live their lives to the fullest. No stigma, no myths, no misconception or discrimination would follow them at any place, be it their workplace, family, or life after marriage.
Real action on diabetes and affordable insulin in my country would look like no young person being afraid to dream because their parent can't afford to buy them insulin. It would also look like that young lady from a remote part of the country not having to worry about waking up in a hospital bed in diabetes ketoacidosis because her parent can't afford to buy her the insulin that she needs while taking care of her other siblings.
100 years since the discovery of insulin, many governments till date lack policies on selection, procurement, supply, pricing, and reimbursement of insulin. Monopoly and markups in the supply chain affect the final price to the consumer, a consumer who can die without that life-saving drug. A real action on diabetes requires unique solutions so that every child can have a dream and live up to those dreams, so that no kid living with diabetes has to ration his insulin just because of financial constraint. Diabetes wasn't my choice, but my choice is to voice for real action, to hold our governments accountable, because healthcare is a human right.